Good morning, students. So today we are going to learn a very interesting topic, and that is tides. Now we all know that the oceanic water is highly dynamic. It is always in motion. And there are two types of regular movements in the ocean water. They are horizontal movement and vertical movement. Now, horizontal movements occur in the form of ocean currents, while vertical movements occur due to the rising of the water as well as sinking of the surface water. Now, all these movements are the result of variation in density due to salinity and in variation in temperature. Winds are also responsible for horizontal movements in the ocean water. Now, tides. The tides are regular, periodic, alternating rise and fall of the level of the water in the oceans. And it occurs after every 24 hours. Twice it occurs in 24 hours. Now, what are the causes of tides? Let's concentrate on that. Now, every object in the universe exerts a gravitational pull on every other object. The effect of gravity increases or decreases with the distance and the mass of the body. Here we can see how the moon is closer to the earth. So the tides are thus caused by the gravitational pull of the moon and to some extent the gravitational pull of the sun. The moon, though very small in size, is nearer to the earth. So it exerts a greater gravitational pull on the earth. The sun, though far away from the earth, yet due to its greater mass, exerts some gravitational pull. The lunar tides are mainly modified by the sun's gravity. Now, water being liquid can be pulled by the gravitational pull or attraction of the moon. So, the water of the earth nearest to the moon will be pulled by the moon, causing a pile of water on certain regions. People who are living on the seashore must have observed that the tides are occurring every day later 50 minutes later than the tides which occurred on the previous day. About this, I'll be explaining it a little later. So, apart from the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon, rotation of the earth is also responsible for the occurrence of tides. Now, the daily motion or the rotation of the earth from west to east causes the westward progress of the tides. The tides travel in great wave around the earth. It follows the movement of the moon except where the presence of the land obstructs the motion. Now, how are tides caused? Now, we can see over here the moon and the earth. Now, in this figure, the moon is exactly over here and its gravitational attraction is causing a pile of water towards the moon. So this is an ordinary high tide. Why? Because of the gravitational attraction of the moon. Now the water at these two areas have been lowered because of the piling of the water over here. So here and on this side we find two areas having low tides. Now there is a piling of water on the opposite side also. Now the reason for this is that here the water being liquid has been pulled towards the moon. The earth has not been pulled, but due to the attraction and gravitational force of the moon, on the opposite side of the earth has slightly been pulled towards the moon. As a result, a pile of water has occurred on the opposite side. This is the reason why there is a high tide on the opposite side of the high tide which is occurring towards the moon. Now, as far as the time of the tides are concerned, now as the earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation around its axis, every place should have experienced tide after every 12 hours. The tide water rises gradually for about 6 hours until it reaches the high tide, and then it begins to fall for about 6 hours until it reaches the low tide, and the cycle continues. Now every place should have experienced a high tide after every 12 hours, but this does not happen. And why does this not happen? Because along with the rotation of the moon, along with the rotation of the earth around the sun, the moon is also rotating around the earth. So if a high tide has occurred at this point, suppose the high tide has occurred at this point on the previous day, the next high tide will occur after 12 hours. So the next high tide, when it will occur at this point, will have a difference of 52 minutes. So on a given day, At the point where I am pointing, this particular area is facing the moon. This point is facing the moon, and it experiences a high tide at say 8 a.m. The next day, this same point will experience high tide at 8:52 a.m. That means that there is a difference of 52 minutes every day at the same point where a high tide is likely to occur. If the moon would have been stationary, if the moon would not have rotated and it would have remained stationary while the earth would have rotated, then all places on the earth would have experienced high tide after every 12 hours. But since the moon is also rotating around the earth, just like the earth is rotating around the sun, so there is a difference of 52 minutes between the tides which occurred today to that which occurred on the previous day. As far as the range of tides are concerned, there is a difference of about 1 to 3 meters of the water level between a high tide and a low tide. The tidal range generally is 1 to 3 meters, but it all depends upon the position of the sun and the moon. And that is why the level of the water keeps on differing every day. Tides are also of different magnitude. For example, in open seas, the tides are very, very high, while in shallow and marginal seas or near the estuaries, the tides becomes pretty low. As far as spring tide and neap tides are concerned, these are produced when the sun, moon and the earth are almost in the same line. So here we can see how the sun, the moon, and the earth are in the same straight line. Thus, tide produced are the greatest in range. So, spring tides occur twice a month. It occurs when it is a new moon and also on a full moon night. The sun being far away from the earth has its tidal pull only about half that of the moon. Hence, the sun alone is incapable of producing the usual high tides. But the sun can help the moon in producing a tide. So, on a full moon and new moon days, the sun and moon exert a combined gravitational pull which causes a great tidal range, which is known as the spring tide. Neap tides occur when the sun, moon and the earth are at right angle. So, on half moon days, when the moon is in the first and the last quarter, the third and the first quarter, we find that the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon work in opposite direction, because the moon is here and the sun is here, so they are working in opposite direction. The gravitational pull of the sun opposes the gravitational pull of the moon. In such cases, we find neap tides occurring. See over here how the sun, the earth and the moon are at right angles, and it is during this time that neap tides occur. In such cases, high tide is lower and low tide is higher than other tide. As far as effects of tides are concerned, tides tend to destroy the coastline. They tend to destroy the coastlines and remove the debris to the sea. Strong tidal currents prevent the formation of deltas. Tides help in keeping the harbors clean, removing debris and sewage far into the sea. The tides can bring a lot of salts and help the cold countries to remain ice-free during the winters. The regular rhythmic motion of the water help the ships to enter the harbor in shallow seas. The low-lying areas along the seacoast are flooded and they help in bringing a lot of salt. Tidal energy is harnessed to produce electricity. It is being done in Britain, France, and also in Gujarat in India. Some of the sea creatures like oysters are attached to the rocky front of the sea coast and they remain in their fixed position, so they depend on tides which bring food for them. The high tides bring food for them which help them to grow. Tides have always been a source of inspiration to poets and to people who have gathered a lot of inspiration from the seas, which keep on coming towards the land and moving away from the land. Many things have been written about tides, and they have always been a very interesting part among the people who are very close to nature. So that is what we have enough time for today. Thank you.